first thing we're going to do today is address hip pain and stiffness. I'm going to give you a little assessment pose to do first so you can kind of get an idea which hip is tighter if you don't already know. And this is one way you could start to signal in on, like I said before, the shape, stiffness, and signals that your body's sending you. So what you're going to do is lay down onto your mat. And you're just going to shake out your legs a little bit, find a comfortable position, take a couple of nice deep breaths in and out through the nose, filling up your belly, and just relax into the mat the best that you can. Really let go of those legs most particularly. And then what I want you to do, without changing your legs at all, is slowly just lift your head and look up at your feet. So what you're going to do is notice the turnout of your feet. So if you have a really tight hip, say for example my right hip is tighter than my left, what I'm going to start seeing is this foot pulled in, maybe pointing straight up to the sky while this one's flopping out, and vice versa. So that's something that you can do to kind of get a better idea on which hip is giving you the problems. Okay, so the first pose we're going to do, and I'm going to show you one side. Obviously things are going to be done on both sides. Whether you have one good hip or two good hips, you're going to do it on both sides anyway. So the first thing we're going to do is come onto our hands and knees for Pigeon Pose. All my athletes love Pigeon Pose. In the beginning, it hurts a lot, but in the end, it starts to really hurt so good. So you're going to come onto your hands and knees, and let's start with the left leg. You're going to slide your left leg forward. Now, instead of having that left knee point straight ahead, I want you to bring it out to the side a little bit and point it 10, 11 o'clock on the clock. Okay? So now, you want to make sure your hips are square and center. In other words, you're not sitting on that hip and you're not listing to the other side. You want to get deep into that hip, and the best way to do that is to keep your back in perfect alignment. Okay, so the next thing you're going to do is you might have to stay here. But in time, with attention, and with practice, you're going to be able to bring this left foot up closer and closer and closer to the front edge of your mat until someday that shin is parallel to the front edge of your mat. Okay, so find a middle of the road place where you feel something enough that you're pushing yourself to the next level, but you're still able to breathe, okay? And then you're going to come onto your forearms, and you're going to rest here. And you really should feel it in that left glute very deep. It gets all the gluteal muscles, gets piriformis muscle, which is the key muscle that clamps down the sciatic nerve, giving us pain radiating down our legs. So you're going to sit here. If you're feeling really good one day, you're going to go all the way down to your chest and maybe even extend. Okay, in a perfect world, I'd like you to stay here 1, 2, 3, maybe even 5 minutes. These are big muscle groups we're talking about, so they need some time to be able to release. Okay, the next one is frog. You're going to come onto your hands and knees. This one takes a little bit of knowledge to set up. It's very easy, but you do have to be particular about some of the angles in your body. So I'm going to do it facing you. You could have a block or not. It's been my experience that if you are able to rest your chest on a block when you're in this pose, the groin and hips release a little bit better. So you're going to come onto your hands and knees. The key to this is from a side view that your hip is in line with your knee. So that means you look like that. My hip is not forward of my knee. It's not behind my knee. It's right in line with my knee. Okay? And to continue that theme, you want your heels directly behind your knee. So you create this nice 90-degree angle with your body and thigh, with your thigh and knee, and at your ankle joint as well. Your toes are pointing straight out to the side. So you're going to separate those knees as much as you possibly can, and you're going to come down and rest your chest on this block. And you're just going to hold this. You can make 2 nice easy fists and rest your head. Okay, so the same thing with this one. I really like to see you start with holding it at least 2 minutes and work up to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 minute hold. Okay, my athletes also learn to love this one as well. Coming out of it, sometimes a little more difficult, so you're just going to have to bring yourself up, walk yourself out, and just rest on your stomach until you feel able to move into the next pose. And the next pose is called Hero's Pose. Okay, there's a lot of different levels for Hero's Pose. We're going to start on the knees again. And simply sitting back on the heels. Okay, easy enough? It looks easy, but not that easy for a lot of you. Some athletes are going to be here and not able to go back, especially if you're post-surgery on the knee. You might want to roll up a towel, put it underneath or behind your knee joint so that you can sink back a little easier, and in time take that towel away and be able to sit on your heels. But you do want full flexion in your knee, because if you are on the field of play and you do end up coming down, say in football or something like this, making a spectacular play, you come down like this, and then a 300-pound guy lands on your legs, you're in a lot of trouble. But if your body's used to going there and your knees are supple and flexible enough to take that, you might be able to avoid some injury before it happens. So hopefully you can get to this point. A lot of you are going to find that your shin and your ankles are tight and you're going to look a little bit like that. But again, in time, with practice, we want no space here. So you want to be nice and flat and sitting here for 2 minutes. Now, if this is easy for you, then there is a next step. You're going to come up, you're going to separate your feet, you're going to place a block behind you, and then go back and sit on the block. You're a little bit lower than your heels, and you're making your way closer and closer to the ground. The one key thing about this pose, it's safe for the quads, it's safe for the knees, if and only if you look down and can see the bottoms of your feet facing up. Okay, in other words, I don't want to see your feet like that, ever. Okay, that's too much strain on the medial knee. We want to keep the bottom of the foot facing up. You also want to have a nice tall back when you're here. So you might be so tight that you're not able to sit up and you're sort of here. Maybe back off a little bit and work until someday you're nice and tall. And then again, with time and practice, you're going to be able to sit between your knees on the ground with a nice tall back. Easy enough? And then let's go to the final one for our hip stiffness and pain, and that's standing forward bend. But I'm going to give a little twist on it. So you're going to come up to standing. Setting the pose up is very important. You're going to look down at your feet and make sure they are hips width apart and parallel. Okay? From a side view, you don't want to be all the way back into the heels like this. You want your hip directly over your heel like that. Okay? This allows the hamstring to open up into its full potential. Once your feet are set up, you're going to grab a sandbag or a light weight. My sandbags are 12 pounds. You could order these online very easily. And what you're going to do is grab opposite elbow with opposite hand, bend your knees and rest your chest and belly on your thighs, and drop your head in. So you're getting a little traction in your shoulders too, a little extension in your side back. And then in time, you're going to straighten the legs and hang out here. You could sway from left to right. You can bend and straighten the knees. Anything you could possibly do to negotiate deeper into those hamstrings. And you do want yourself in a position where you're feeling it more in the back of the leg than in your back. Okay, so you might be very bent in the beginning, but you're still going to feel a good hamstring stretch. To get out of it, drop the bag, release, and roll yourself up nice and slow. If you go up too fast, you're going to get dizzy. I can guarantee you that. All right, so let's go into talking about knees next. Okay, so I want to talk about knees next. Whether you're 10 or a professional athlete, you are or know someone that's had knee problems, MCL, ACL, PCL, meniscus. It's just rampant these days. So I'm going to show you how to do some yoga poses to help avoid that. And one of the best things to do is to open up the hips. Now there's been studies done, orthopedic studies done, that show that the more open and supple your hips are and low back, the less pressure on your knee. And if you think about it, if you're playing a game and you have very tight hips and a very stiff back, and you go to make a play, a very agile play, and you turn, and this doesn't turn, all that energy has to transfer somewhere, and it's always going to go to the most vulnerable spot, which is always the poor little knee. Okay, so we're going to go into a couple of poses that open up the hips, which help leave less pressure on the knee. Again, just like we did with the hips, we're going to go to Pigeon Pose. So onto your hands and knees, slide that left leg forward, bring the left leg out to the left, 10, 11 o'clock, and bring the lower leg as close to the front edge of your mat as you can. Okay, you're going to stay here, you're going to go here, or you're going to come all the way down onto your forearms, whatever you're feeling that day. You're going to hold it for a certain amount of time till you could feel some relief, till you could feel some release. Okay? And then what we're going to do is add now. We're going to add some quad hip flexor stretch to it. So you're going to come upright, nice and tall, and slowly, if you go fast, you might get a little cramp in your leg. You're going to bend that back leg. Easy enough. You're going to reach around with your right hand and grab the shin or the foot. Some of you might even have to put a strap. Reach around and grab because you don't have enough flexibility to reach your foot yet. Whatever you can do. And then you're going to pull in until that heel touches your hip one day. And you're going to hold it there. And you're definitely going to feel front of the thigh, hip flexor, quad. So hold that for a few deep breaths. Then you're going to let it go. Nice and easy. Sit on that left hip. Swing the leg around and come into what's called double pigeon. So we're going to stack the right shin on top of the left shin. Okay? It seems very easy, but it's very difficult, especially if you have tight hips. You want to look down, and on the inner edges of your legs, you want to see a perfect triangle shape. You want right shin, again, directly over that left shin, and you're just going to sit up nice and tall. Some of you are going to find you get into this position, and it doesn't really look like this. You look like this. That means you need some work. Need a little help. So we're going to take a block, and maybe you're going to sit up on the block. If your hips are higher than your feet, it gives you just a little bit more range in the hips. And you're going to hold it here as best you can, opening the jaw, releasing the tension in the neck, and just hold. Sit up nice and tall, like I said before, and feel in those hips what's going on. If you're feeling really good one day, once you're off the block, you could start to think about folding yourself forward in this position. Okay, you're going to come up, shake the legs out, and again, you're going to try the other side. Okay, the next pose is frog pose again. Same as what we did when we were talking about hip pain and stiffness. You're going to come onto your hands and knees, focusing on the outer hip, hip socket, glute, was that pigeon series we just did. Now we're going to do frog, which is going to totally focus, for obvious reasons, the groin inner thigh. You're going to come onto your hands and knees. Very important that from a side view, your hip is in line with your knee, your hips are not forward, your hips are not back. Right in alignment with your knee. Look at your heels. Heels are directly behind your knees as well, so you make a nice 90-degree angle here, a 90-degree angle in the knee, and a 90-degree angle in the ankle. And you're going to let those knees go out as far as you can, and you're going to rest your chest or your belly on a block. You're going to stay here for 1, 2, 3, up to 10, 20, half hour. Depends what you got. But you're going to keep letting those knees slide out. Try not to resist them. And you're going to open up that groin and see great improvement pretty quickly here. To come out, you're going to come onto your hands and knees. Walk yourself out as graceful as possible and onto your belly. Give yourself a little rebound time on the belly before you come up. And the next series we're going to do 4 knees to open up the hips again, like I said, is lying on your back. Want to take a strap? If you don't have a yoga strap, you can use a necktie or exercise bands or jump rope, anything that you have to help you out. You're going to lay down onto your back, and you're going to bring the right knee into your chest. I want you to focus on that left leg as much as the right leg. A lot of people here will do this pose and totally forget about that left leg and really just pull in on the right. And you want that dynamic opposition going on. So pull that right leg in, press that left leg long. You're going to place the strap on the right foot, grab both sides of the strap with the right hand, and extend the leg the best that you can. I want your foot to be square. Try not to collapse it in or press it outward. Okay? In time, with practice, you're going to be able to hold on to the foot. But I'm going to demo with the strap because most of you are going to need the strap. Left arm is going to come out to the side, palm flat for stability. And you're going to let that right leg come out to the right the best you can without this left hip popping off the ground. So if this happens, you went too far. You want to pull back, ground the leg, and reach across. The idea is not for that foot to touch the floor at all. It's groin, inner thigh stretch. Take a nice deep inhale, exhale here, maybe 3, 4, 5 times. Then you're going to tighten the belly and core. Without bending the leg, bring the leg back into center. Grab the strap with the opposite hand. Now you're going to bring the leg all the way across your body. This time, the hip can come up. This time, the foot can touch the floor. You're going to reach and look over your opposite shoulder. So you're reaching with your right hand, looking over your right shoulder, pressing through that right foot, pressing down through the left foot, and you're going to feel in that IT band, which runs on the outside of that right thigh, really hard to stretch. And you're also going to get a nice spinal twist, which is going to give you some of that flexibility we talked about earlier. Some place for that energy to transfer to. A nice supple spine, open hips, so that you can avoid any injury on that knee. Gut tight, leg comes back to center, switch hands on the strap, and repeat. Out to the side, again, across your body. You're going to repeat that sequence 2 or 3 times, and then switch sides. Okay? So those are some good breakthrough yoga, power yoga tools you can do for opening up the hips to prevent injuries on your knees.